Today on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. These 8 kids began the day bowling in one combined division, with the 3 little kids getting a minimal handicap of just 60% of the difference between their league average and 200, while the 5 big kids all bowled scratch. 2 games of qualifying winnowed the field to the final 5, who are competing today in a stepladder finals. So let's meet the 5 finalists. Qualifying in the 5th position is Josh Greenberg. Josh actually left the bowling center after his 2nd game of qualifying, and when we added up the numbers, someone had to go run out to the parking lot to get him back in. He'll face our number 4 ranked qualifier, Rowan Sautner. These 2 aren't the littlest kids in our Roswell Junior Varsity League, but they're close. The winner of that match will face another little who's no stranger to the winner's circle. Hunter Moffett qualified in the 3 spot, and he's looking to close the gap on the season's winningest player, Nick Dissinger, who didn't bowl Prodigy today. The winner of that match will bowl against our number 2 qualifier, who will have to get it done without the benefit of any handicap, Christian Manel. After being the winningest player on Prodigy last season, he has only signed the coveted trophy pin once this year. And the winner of that match will bowl for the title today against our tournament leader, Melissa McConnell. Melissa is the captain of the Lady Eagles of Oklahoma Christian University and is home for spring break, so she stopped by to pay a visit to Prodigy. And that's our field today. Celebrating junior bowling, elevating junior bowlers. This is Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Live on tape from the recently renovated Brunswick Zone Roswell in Roswell, Georgia. This is Coach Randy, welcoming you to episode 89 of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, Life in the Fast Lanes. Our players today are being challenged by one of the most demanding oil patterns we'll throw at them all season, Kegel's Turnpike pattern. 41 feet in length, Turnpike's 25.3 milliliters of oil is well within the normal range, but the 2.4 to 1 ratio suggests that accuracy will be at a premium. Look a little more closely at the load data sheet, and you'll find that there are 8 2-to-2 loads, and that tells you that accuracy will be extremely important. We'll talk a little more about that later. Here's how the qualifying round went. In Game 1, Christian bowled the high scratch game with just a 165. Rowan, with his 32 pins of handicap, managed to tie Christian. Melissa, Tristan, Anthony, and Hunter, with his 23 pins of handicap, were all bunched in there close, with Josh and Brandon bringing up the rear. But then in Game 2, Melissa dialed up a 195 game to pass everybody for the number 1 position. Christian held steady with a strong 180. Hunter came up with a 168 scratch, which, when added to his 23 pins of handicap, moved him into 3rd place, while Rowan's 130 plus 32 handicap pins grabbed the 4th position. But the big surprise was Josh, who, like I said, left after his 2nd game, where he bowled just a 114. But with his 49 pins of handicap, it gave him a 2-game total of 300, which was good enough to edge out Tristan, who finished with a 299 total for 2 games, and Anthony, who logged a 291. There was much complaining about the handicaps giving the little kids an edge. But when they only got 60% of the difference between their average and 200, it's hard to say they were given an advantage, especially when you see the scratch scores our supposedly scratch players posted in that 2nd game. But I get it, scratch players hate playing in handicap competitions, so we'll re-examine how we do this going forward, and I will figure out a way to make it work for everybody. One way they could have made it work this time would have been to bowl higher scores than in the 140s and 130s that 2nd game. Just saying. But right now, it's time to turn our attention to match 1 of our stepladder. Now, Josh is receiving 49 pins in handicap, while Rowan is getting 32. That's a difference of 17. So Rowan will be spotting Josh 17 pins of handicap differential, which we'll add to Josh's score in the first frame. So you won't have to add a thing. Now, Rowan was the higher qualifier, so he had the choice of starting lanes, and he has elected to let Josh lead off. Josh gets a piece of the head pin as it's crossing over on the left side, and he leaves the 3 and the sleeper 9. Tricky little spare. You got to hit this one square on the face to get the back pin. But that one falls off into the gutter. So Josh with an open frame in the first. Now you notice we've added his 17-pin handicap differential into his score. That gives him 25. Pretty similar hit for Rowan, and he leaves the 3-9 and the 6. So a little more complication to this one, but you shoot it pretty much the same way. And he needed to get a little more solid on the 3-pin in the front to drive it straight back into the 9. So he leaves the sleeper 9 standing, and that's 9 out. You saw he turned around before the ball was halfway down the lane. He knew that he missed left, and that ball never had a chance. Just never got it out to the right far enough. It hooks back and just clips off the 7-pin. So fortunately, he was not working on a spare, so no damage here. It's as good as 9 if he makes the spare. And he does make the spare. How about that? That's worth a second look, I'd say. Rowan starts way at the back of the approach. These little guys will take long strides, and they'll run up to the line to generate enough ball speed. And he gets the love tap on the 10. And monkey see, monkey do here, as Josh throws almost the same first ball that Rowan did in the second frame, and he too clips off just the 7. And he gets that one a little too wide, and well, that's a 6 count for the second frame, and his 17-pin handicap differential is almost all gone. He leads by just 2 now. Now, Josh hasn't quite figured out how to get the ball moving down the lane, so his ball velocity is lower than some of these other little kids. He's a little off balance at the line, and he turns away from it. He hates it. And then he looks back and says, "You mean I got 6 out of that? How did that happen?" I always tell him, never turn your back on them until old Iron Claws gets them. How about that little spare right there? As Josh converts the bucket, the 2-4-5-8. And that'll allow him to maintain the lead for now. Oh, that looked like a pretty good ball, but it took a sharp left turn at the break point, and now Rowan's got his hands full with the 3-4-6-7-10. Here's how you make it. Get the ball over to the right of the 3. The ball will get the 6 and 10. You're hoping that the 3 will get the 4 and 7. And that's a pretty good try right there. Didn't miss by more than about a ½ inch. But it's an open frame, and Rowan falls behind by 19. And once again, that ball tries to get back, but didn't quite make it. Still, he managed to break down what could have been a more complicated spare, and he's just got the 2-pin. And he's usually pretty good with his single pin spares. So now Josh back up on the right lane, working on a spare. When you have a spare up, you want to get all you can. A spare is worth 10 plus what you get on the next ball. And that's how you do it right there. You put one right in the pocket. A little unlucky that that one didn't go, but he's got the 7-pin. And again, a pretty easy spare, especially for a right-hander. And Josh takes care of the 7-pin with ease. And he maintains his 18-pin lead. Whoops. Something bothered him. Maybe the kids over on 35-36 who were warming up for their match a little later on in the stepladder. Something distracted Josh, so he did the smart thing. He stopped, he put the ball down, going completely through his routine all over again. He keeps looking over there. He's a little easily distracted, but makes a good shot, puts it in the pocket, leaves the weak 10. Now this is one of those spares that for Josh, a little guy who hasn't quite learned how to throw it straight yet and doesn't generate a lot of ball speed, these right side spares are the ones that'll cause him the most difficulty. Let's see if he can make the 10. Now you see, that's the problem. He knows it's going to hook, so he's going to start it out to the right and just didn't measure it quite right, and that one is in the gutter. Close, just a little high. Rowan leaves the 4. Kind of feeling his way on the approach. I've talked to Rowan about looking down at his feet. Actually, I've had this conversation with most of these little kids. You got to look down at your feet, set your feet before you even put your fingers in the ball. You got to know where you're standing. There's another good shot right in the pocket. These little guys with the lighter balls, they're going to leave some single pin spares when they put it in the pocket. Well, heck, the big kids do too. And Rowan, with the same difficulty as Josh, sends it wide. Now Rowan with a little more ball speed, he ought to be able to keep that thing on line enough to go straighter at those right side spares. But he missed that 10-pin, and Josh's lead back to 19. No, man, that thing was hovering dangerously near the edge of the lane. But he hooks back and leaves a variation on the super washout, the 1-2, 6, 8, 10. Now this one a little different from some of the other super washouts. The only way you can make this is on the left side of the head pin. Well, just got a little too much of the head pin. So that's another open frame. We're seeing a few of those this match. And Josh with a narrow 7-pin advantage. this match within a mark. Got to push. Kept it in the Brooklyn pocket. Leaves a relatively simple spare, the 9-pin. Now you don't need to send this out to the edge, just near the pocket. And look at this. He did send it out a little wide again, and his eyes go straight to the floor. He's not happy. Rowan with the lead now. And boom! There's one right in the pocket. We'll take another look at that shot. The one thing I didn't like about it was watch how Rowan ends up facing the right wall when he lets it go. He completely spins out. We want to get him and all these little kids to stick the landing in balance, facing the pins. Well, we get another version of the super washout here. Now this one a little easier than the one Josh had, because you have two options to shoot this. Either on the left side of the head pin like this, or you can shoot it from the left side of the lane, go straight at the right side of the head pin, let the ball deflect over into the 6 and 10. But if you play it that way, you don't want to hook it. And that's exactly what Rowan did. He hooked at it. And when you do that, the ball isn't going to deflect enough to get the 6 and 10, even with a light ball. A high hit for Josh. And the 3-6. He needs to convert this to maintain his 10-pin lead as we're getting late in the match. And once again, those right side spares prove difficult for Josh. And he hands Rowan the lead with just 2 frames to play. Look at this one. That's called shredding the rack in slow motion. We'll watch it in slow motion, but it was pretty slow in real time. Watch this. Over about 16 at the arrows. It gets out to about 6 at the break point. Just hits the light pocket. And I'm not sure what that was. Maybe the head pin. We'll take another look at it here. I think the head pin came back and got the 4. Yep. It's kind of a combination shredder and a wall shot, all at the same time. Whatever it was, it put a smile on Josh's face. Rowan goes through the nose and leaves the 6-10. Now, he too has been known to have some problems with these right side spares. He knows how to throw it straight. He just hasn't quite got it down yet to where it comes naturally to him. Oh! Chop suey. That wasn't in the script. It looked like a pretty good shot. Well, it's a tough break. Rowan now trails by 9. And as that ball sails wide, he's going to need to make the 1, 2, 4, 7, the picket fence, as we sometimes call it. Put the ball on the left side of the head pin. Let the ball take out the 2, 4, and the 7. Look out. And he misses wide, and 7 out, 121. And, well, guess what? Josh just needs a few pins here in the 10th frame, and he's going to walk away with this match. He needs 5 pins. If he gets 4 in 2 balls, we have a tie. But there's 8, and that's a winner right there. And Josh is going to be moving on to match 2. And I think it probably surprises him as much as it does anybody. But the little guy comes back and makes his spare here in the 10th. And he's going to end up in the 140s with good count. Now remember, Rowan was spotting him 17 pins in handicap differential, which we added in. That's going to give Josh 141 with the 17 pins, beating Rowan by 20, which means he beat Rowan's scratch. How about that? So Josh will move to match 2, and he'll face Hunter next.
Mike Pinelli's Bolero Lanes in the Midtown Shopping Center in Pueblo welcomes everyone to come in and enjoy all the facilities Bolero offers. If you haven't found out what a fun and relaxing place Bolero is, you've got a great experience coming. There's open bowling many times throughout the week, and there's league bowling for every class of bowler, from beginner to expert. So get your family or group of friends together and come into Bolero, or come in and make new friends. That's Pinelli's Bolero Lanes, Midtown Shopping Center, Pueblo.
So little Josh left the building after his second qualifying game when he thought he had missed the cut, and we had to go out to the parking lot and fetch him. And now he's won his first match in the stepladder. Just goes to prove you should never give up in this sport. Josh didn't even need the 17 pins in handicap differential he was receiving to get past Rowan. These little guys are still learning how to cope with defeat, and it's tough for them when they want to win so bad. But these are not just lessons kids have to learn about bowling. They're life lessons, and bowling, like all sports, is a great teacher. Rowan will be back and will have his moments in the winner's circle. But right now, Josh Greenberg is moving on to match 2, where he'll face the last of the littles still remaining in the field today, Hunter Moffitt. Hunter won last week on our Kickin' It Old School episode, and he won 2 episodes before that on Soul Bowl 2019. So today, he's trying to make it 2 out of 3. But Hunter will be spotting Josh 26 pins in this match, so he'll have to button down his spare game if he wants to survive this match against an eager little guy in Josh. Hunter, with the option, has elected to start the match. He wants to finish on the right. And that one sails wide on him, and he leaves the 1-2. These guys so used to throwing it out to the right on the house shot. Some of these sport shots, you really can't get away with that. Look out. As I mentioned, you can't swing it out to the right that much. So an open frame to start for Hunter. And Josh, already with a 26-pin advantage, thanks to his handicap differential, just handed a gift by Hunter. Fidgety little guy, ain't he? Well, once he gets a little bigger and can generate a little more ball speed, shots like that may hold pocket, but that one got away from him, and he's got the 1-3-6-10. You shoot it just like a strike. Put it in the 1-3 pocket. The 3 will get the 6, the 6 will get the 10. Just like that. And he's pretty happy about it. Anytime these little guys get a spare, they like it. He's watching intently, and down they go. So he's off to a big lead to start. That looked like a pretty good shot. He was a little bit more behind the ball with his hand that time. That's what I look for with these little guys. But it still took a sharp left turn, and he's got the 3-6-10. Now he's had trouble with these right side spares. And once again, sends it wide, knowing it's going to hook some, and there's just only so much lane you can borrow to the right of those right side spares. So Hunter, speaking of right side spares, there's one for you. The 10 pin. Hunter put it right in the pocket. And he will do that sometimes. See if he can figure out how to make a spare over in the right corner. Well, he went with his plastic ball, but just guarding against throwing it in the moat. Just got a little too careful with it. Missed on the left. And as you can plainly see, they just don't have a lot of area they can hit. That one just skidded right to the pins, and he's got the 1-2-8-10 washout. Put the ball on the left side of the head pin, throw it over into the 10. And that's twice now we've seen players shooting at 1-2 combinations and having a hard time getting the ball up to where they want it to be. So Hunter with 3 open frames to start. That's not like him. He's a good little spare shooter. Josh with a big edge now. Oh, look out. Well, we see this a lot with the kids of all ages, really, but especially the little guys. They just get their hand too far on the side of the ball. Look here. See where his hand is? Way on the right side of the ball. We would like his arm to be more in line with his shoulder, like where you see the green lines here, the fingers where the arrows are, and not over on the side where we put the red X. That would allow him to keep the ball more under control. For the spare. In the pocket, but just not enough drive to get the 7 out. So an open frame. He wasn't working on a spare, so he didn't lose count on that first ball, but 9 out will cost him. And his lead shrinks to 32 pins. I believe he went to grab his towel, wanting to wipe down his bowling ball. That is a good habit to be in. Add that to your pre-shot routine. Well, that was a little better shot. It just didn't quite make it back. And he's got the bucket, the 2, 4, 5, 8. Pretty common lead for a right-hander. Here's how you make it. Put it right in the 2-5 pocket, we'll call it. Let the ball drive through and carry out the back pin. Oh, he crosses over and got it. Can't count on that happening every time, but he got away with it this time. And gets congratulations from his opponent, Hunter, who's now up on the right lane. And Hunter goes through the nose. Breaks up the split, leaves the 6-10. Once again, one of these right side spares. And with Hunter, you never know if he's going to throw it one-handed or two-handed. He goes two-handed with his plastic ball and just misses the 6-pin to the right. Well, this is just very out of character for Hunter. 4 opens in a row. There's a good ball right there. Hunter shreds the rack, rips the 5-pin over into the 7, and gets his first strike of the match, his first mark of the match. Watch the ball drive through and see what the 5-pin does. That's the one in the middle of the rack. The ball will catch a piece of it and send it over into the 7. The Ripper. Oh my goodness. Well, that's a little unlucky. As he leaves a Brooklyn 7-9. Now, believe it or not, Josh made the 7-9 in league today. I kid you not. Just tipped the 9 over into the 7. But this time, the ball hooks off into the left gutter. And that's 8 out. We've talked about it before. Josh has a tendency to get his right hand on the right side of the ball, and he keeps his hand in the ball until he's well over the foul line. Oh, this one got away into the gutter on the right. As if he's delivering it with both his right and left hands on it, which technically would not be a legal delivery if it's on his side. You can deliver the ball between your legs with both hands on it when you let it go. That's legal. But not when it's over on one side or the other. One of your hands has to come off of it before you let it go. And there's a double for Hunter, and suddenly he moves out into the lead with that strike. So Hunter hot and cold this match. No marks after 4 frames, and then he goes strike, strike. Both of them in that half pocket swish zone. I'm telling you, when this kid gets a little older, he's going to be a handful. This time it sails on him. And for the second time today, we see the 1, 2, 4, 7. The picket fence. You want to put the ball right there between the 1 and the 2 and let the ball just hook on through, and it should knock down all 4 pins. Oh my goodness. Well, you will see that occasionally with a lighter ball. That's a 12-pound ball. Watch this. It's going to deflect in front of and around the 7. Look at this. It's in front of the 7, and it's going to go in the gutter and miss the 7. It actually touched it. Look at that. It's wiggling. It touched the 7 on the way by. And Hunter's reaction to this, he thinks he's made it. What? Yeah, I'd be surprised too. You think these guys aren't into it? And Josh once again wide, and that's 3 gutter balls in a row. Gotta stop the bleeding right now. Keep your hand behind it, your elbow in close. That's a little better. He gets 7. But now all of a sudden we've got us a match. 2 pins separating these two, heading into the 8th frame. As Hunter's been chipping away at the lead for 7 frames. Josh slipped and fell that time. He's lucky he didn't foul. But he stayed behind the line. But now these pesky right side spares that have been giving him trouble all day. Let's see what he can do with the 10 pin. There you go. He'll make them every now and then. Get a little more speed on the ball. Get it to hold line. I think Hunter liked that one when he let it go. It looked pretty good to me. It was just a little wide, and he's got the 2, 4, 5. This one of those spares you got to be careful with. When you throw it down the right side of the lane, you can chop the 2 right off the 5. But he gets it on the left side, and that avoids the chop. And there's a spare, and look at this. These two just 2 pins apart, heading into the 9th and 10th. Oh boy. You don't expect to see a good player miss the head pin on the left side when they're a right-hander. The 1, 3, 6, 9. You want to hit fairly light in the pocket so that the ball will drive the 3 straight back into the 9. And that is perfectly done right there. Good shot by Hunter. Watch this. It'll hit solid on the 3 pin, a little light on the head pin. You come in a little higher than that, you'll actually send the 3 to the right of the 9, and you'll get 9 out. That's not fun. Ooh, Josh got away with one there. It went high. He had the 6, 7, 10 staring at him for an instant. But once again, he's got that right side to contend with, the 6, 10. And he covers it. So he may have figured out a little mystery here in dealing with those right side spares. He threw it in the gutter a couple of times, but now he's made back-to-back right side spares and has a 4-pin lead. And he goes through the nose, gets 9, leaves the 6. Once again, got to make a spare on the right side. And this time he sends it wide. So here's the situation. Hunter needs to fill 13 pins in the 10th. Now he's working on a spare, so any pins he loses in count on the first ball, those will be important, but 13 in the 10th is not a lot to ask, but he must mark. Uh-oh! And he knows what this means. The 4-7-10, it's makeable by a pro, maybe 15-1. Just tick the 4-pin and slide it over. He must make it. Too much 4-pin. Open frame, and Josh wins the match. And Josh continues his climb up the step ladder. But now he'll have his hands full when he meets Christian next. Hey, it's me, Coach Randy, with exciting news about a new way you can help support Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Over the past couple of years, we've had a number of Prodigy fans say they'd love to offer something in payment for the Prodigy content seen each week on YouTube throughout the bowling season. Well, I'm pleased to announce that Prodigy is now on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Now, in case you're not familiar with it, Patreon is a platform where YouTube content consumers like you can connect directly with YouTube content creators like me and pledge a small amount of money each month to support the work that goes into creating the content that you enjoy watching. It's based on the age-old concept of patrons. About 30 to 40 hours of work goes into the production of each and every episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. So if you enjoy the content on Prodigy Bowlers Tour each week and you'd like to support the show, please check it out at patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour. There are 4 affordable subscription tiers, and each one offers a different reward, up to and including sneak peeks of shows before they're released to the public, exclusive behind-the-scenes content that only members will ever see, and there's even a tier that will enable you to get all that and get your name in the credits each week as a producer of the show. You'll be helping me to be able to continue making the show each week and even reinvest some of the money into improving the show going forward. Thanks for checking it out, and thanks for supporting Prodigy Bowlers Tour.
Power in a can. Power!
Well, Hunter had the opportunity right before him, but an untimely 4-7-10 in the 10th frame and his inability to make it when he needed a spare cost him a chance to go for back-to-back wins today. Meanwhile, young Josh just keeps getting enough done to squeak by once again. I guarantee you he never imagined he'd be among the final 3 when he went to pack his bowling balls in the trunk of his dad's car after the qualifying round. But now, Josh Greenberg has his hands full with Christian Manel. Remember, the little guys were only getting 60% of the difference between their average and 200. Christian has had mixed success in matches on Prodigy in which he was bowling against kids to whom he was spotting handicap pins. In the fall of 2017, Hunter dusted him on the episode we called The Long and Winding Road, an all-handicap event. Well, and I think McFluffy is shook. He just got beat by a 9-year-old. Last spring, Christian won our league's All-Star Varsity Tournament of Champions in the varsity division when he was spotting Bryn Morgan a whopping 88 pins in handicap. Last week, Christian fell in the championship match when he was spotting Hunter just 25 pins. In this match, he'll be giving Josh the full 49 pins handicap that Josh was getting each game in qualifying. Christian ought to be able to handle it, but when scratch players are having to give that many pins, it often plays tricks on their mind. Meanwhile, little Josh may feel a little intimidated bowling against a big kid like Christian with his rev rate and, well, size. So this should be interesting. We'll add Josh's 49 pins of handicap into his score in the first frame, so you won't have to add a thing. A little out of character for Christian. He has chosen to finish first. And that means that Josh starts the match, and he goes through the nose with his first toss, leaving the 3-6-10. And it's been kind of a mixed bag with Josh today on those right side spares. He's run a little hot and cold on those, but he's certainly capable of making it. But not when you send it that wide. So he will go to the bench and think about that one. As you can see, his 49 pins handicap differential has been added to his score. So 49 plus 7 that he got in the first frame gives him 56 in the first. And now Christian's first ball of this match will come on lane 40. Christian playing the lanes a little differently than all of the other big kids. During qualifying, we played 4 to a pair, and Christian was on the same pair with all 3 of the little kids. And he decided that since a couple of them were throwing plastic or urethane, that he'd just move out and stay outside of their line so that the carry down wouldn't affect him. And I think that was a pretty smart move. It has served him well today. And should continue to do so in this match against Josh, now that there have been all these games already bowled by the little kids with their urethane and plastic balls. Christian takes care of the 2 pins, so a strike spare start. He'll need to string some strikes if he wants to catch Josh, unless Josh backs up, which he might do. Then again, he might not, as the little guy gets a Brooklyn strike in the second frame. And we'll watch it again. He was a little more behind the ball that time, which will produce a more controllable hook. Got to round that one a little bit more, and a similar result this time. Crosses over, leaves the 6, a makeable spare. Josh has just got to figure out how to line up for these right side spares. I think he got it. Yes, sirree. Well, we've seen Christian at times bowling kids that he's spotting a lot of pins to, and he gets a little flummoxed when they start throwing strikes or even stringing spares together. But Christian has been pretty much in his own world today, wearing his ear pods, jamming out to whatever otherworldly music he listens to. Oh! Talk about a break. Goes right through the nose and collapses what could have been a big split. Watch this one in slow motion. This is going to go right through the nose. He had the 4-7-10 for a second, and everything just caved in. And he liked it. Mix them up, baby. He was motioning left as soon as it left his hand. And he leaves the 3-6. Could have been worse. That 10 pin would have made it a little more difficult. The 3-6 still a choppable spare, but the 10-pin would have added some complications. So as Christian tries to figure out the left lane, he struck twice on the right. See if he can get this spare. And he does. Pretty focused. He bowled well on Prodigy last week, only to lose the championship match against Hunter. Josh, a little confused up on the left lane when in fact it's his turn to bowl on the right. Man, did that take a sharp turn or what? I thought that might be a pretty good shot. But instead, he's left with exactly the spare I was talking about a moment ago that Christian almost left, the 3-6-10. Put the ball on the 3 and the 6. The 6 should get the 10. And it's always an adventure when Josh shoots at those right side spares. But he makes short work of the 3-6-10 this time, and good for him. That's 3 marks in a row. And he maintains his 33-pin advantage over Christian. And if Josh can keep throwing spares, Christian's going to have his work cut out for him. Look out. Just missed left. And with that relatively low ball speed that Josh has, it's going to go left when it hits the dry back end. There's a better shot. But it never quite gets into a roll, and so it doesn't get back to the head pin. And an open frame for Josh. The lead down to 16. Josh has got to nurse that handicap edge that he had against Christian, because he's only getting 60% of the difference between his league average and 200. Christian just a little wide with that one, so his mastery of the right lane comes to an end. And out the window goes any prospect for a Dutch 200 this game. And he's got the 2-pin. Shouldn't pose a problem. And he makes it easily. Well, I got to tell you, Christian lit it up in league this morning. He started with a 280, followed that up with a 233, and then a 243 for a sweet little 756 series. Not the high series of the season in our league, but one of the high series. And once again, he's high on the left lane, and again, will face the 3-6. The smart play is to move left and go cross lane at the 3-6. Reduce the angle of chopping. But he pulled it, and he missed that one by a lot. Well, let's see if we can figure out why. We've only got the one camera from behind the players, but I think we're going to see it. See his left arm? His left arm is behind his back. That means his right shoulder has outraced the left. When that happens, you're going to pull it left, and he missed by 10 boards. That ball wants to finish between the 3 and 6. He was over in the Brooklyn pocket area. There's a pocket shot by Josh. And now he's got the pesky 10-pin. And he's going to need to learn how to make the 10-pin, because in his life, he will leave more 10-pins than anything. Ask any grown-up who's been bowling their whole life. They will tell you, if they're right-handed, they've left more 10-pins than they have anything else. And this time, he almost had it on line, but just didn't borrow quite enough. So there's an open frame, and now the lead is 20. As Josh moves over to lane 39, where he'll try to regroup. Oh boy. Well, that was close to being in the pocket. It just drifted a little left at the last instant. And now Josh with the 4-7-10. This is the one that did in Hunter at the end of his match. And Josh just takes the count. 9 out. The lead is now 9. That big 49-pin handicap differential that Josh began this match with is almost all gone. But Christian is still either going to need to double somewhere or have Josh open again. If Josh can keep marking the rest of the way, he's still going to be hard to catch. Welcome to Roswell. That's what we say when you get one of those. Christian couldn't believe his eyes. The stone 8, the only true tap in bowling. The ball goes through the pins and chops the 5 straight back off the 8. And he covers the spare, but remains 9 pins behind little Josh. Who's going to step up at the end? Well, Christian wanted to finish on this left lane. We'll see if he's got it figured out. I'll take that as a yes. Earlier in the match, he struck twice on the right lane. That's his first strike on the lane he will finish on, lane 39. Over the second arrow, out to about 8 at the break point. That's about as straight up the boards as you'll ever see Christian play. Little double dribble action for Josh, but it still catches the Brooklyn pocket. Now, if he can just cover this single pin spare, the 5-pin, he will take a 9-pin lead into the final 2 frames. But no, it hooks by, and once again, we will work with Josh about keeping that right arm behind the ball. That's the biggest challenge he's got ahead of him. And then he just borrows too much. A little overcompensation. You throw one in the left gutter, and the next thing you know, you're just trying to compensate. And you miss one a little too far to the right, and it's gone in the right gutter. And then back-to-back gutter balls. And wow, that could prove very costly, because Josh has just gone from 2 pins down. Now he's 22 pins behind Christian. Yowza. And now Christian, with a strike up in the 8th, can really put the pedal down and take control of the match if he can put a double on the board right here. Josh can get to 173 with 3 strikes in the 10th. That's the magic number Christian's got to get to. And he's wide with his first ball in the 9th. So again, Josh, a possible 173. Christian going at a 185 pace. But if he were to open somewhere, well, no telling. Look out. Well, you wouldn't expect him to miss a simple spare like a 1-2, but there you have it. The lead is now down to 10. And Christian is going to need to double here to shut Josh out. Otherwise, if he goes strike spare or spare strike, Josh can throw 3 strikes in the 10th and tie. And Christian throws a wild one, nearly missing the head pin left. And now he's got a very missable spare in the 3-9. You got to hit this one square on the face to make sure that the 3-pin goes back and gets that sleeper 9. I'm surprised that he moved way over to the left side of the lane. The 3-pin being part of the pocket, I would have thought he would have just adjusted a few boards left with his feet and thrown a strike ball. But he goes over to a side of the lane that he hasn't really thrown many shots in and took a calculated risk and covered the spare, but that was a risk. All right, Christian needs a strike here to guarantee himself no worse than a tie. But 7 means that Josh can get him. Now, I told Josh, you're going to need 2 strikes and 8, and he covered his ears. It's like, that's too much pressure. I don't need to hear that. But I'll tell you what, these little guys are going to have to learn. That's what bowling is all about. And when you bowl with Coach Randy, I'm going to put you in pressure situations because I want you to get familiar with it. But he needs 2 strikes right here. Oh, that could have gone. Yeah, I know it was Brooklyn, but that could easily have tripped the 6. But as it is, Christian is going to come out the winner here, but just barely. Josh covers the 6-pin, so he's going to end up in the 160s with good count here on the fill ball. So now you look at the score sheet and you think, oh my goodness, if Josh just could have gotten good count or a mark in the 9th, we'd be looking at a completely different outcome. There's 8. He will finish with 161. A 9-pin win for Christian. So he gets by Josh, but only by the hair on his chinny chin chin. And now he's got Melissa in the championship match.
You've never seen a thing like this.
That's the new rock star.
Wait till I show you all my tricks.
Never seen nothing like this.
All jeans on sale, up to 50% off. No time to spare.
Two weeks ago in our Roswell Varsity League, Nolan Kemp got up in the 10th frame with a chance for a 300 game, only to foul on the 11th strike. Well, earlier today in our Roswell Varsity League, Nick Dissinger strung together the first 9 strikes in a row in his second game. Here's the 10th ball. So that's 10 in a row for Nick. Now, as hard to believe as this may be, in all the years that Brunswick Zone Roswell has been open, and it opened in the 1980s, there has never been a 300 game bowled in the Saturday Morning Youth League, or any youth league in this house. A couple of years ago, the very first game of the 2016-17 season, Mikey Kabrinsky shot .299, leaving a 4-pin on the last ball. Well, Nick has made it his mission in life to be the first to get a 300 in our house. Here's the 11th shot. Oh, man, a stone 9. And you know, as if that weren't enough, in the very next game, Nick started with the front 8, only to leave another stone 9. So the next time you see Nick, be sure and ask how his love affair with the 9-pin is going. By the way, a big hand clap goes out to Christian Manel, who borrowed my iPhone to shoot that sequence. And I congratulate him on holding the camera nice and steady. Let that be a lesson to the rest of you. And speaking of Christian, he stopped Josh's march up the stepladder today, although if Josh could have gotten a mark somewhere, like that 9th frame where he put up the dreaded double gutter, he'd be the one moving on. But as it is, it's Christian Manel who has advanced to the championship match, where he'll face Melissa McConnell. You know, it was 1 year ago this weekend that Christian climbed the ladder to reach the championship match, where the top seed that day was Melissa McConnell. It was the Sunset Strip Open, and it was Christian who had a bout with the gutter balls. Are you kidding? But in the championship match, Melissa began with a pocket 7-10 and ultimately missed a 10-pin that opened the door for Christian to polish off another win in his 7-win 2017-18 season on Prodigy. Melissa would like a measure of revenge today. Melissa being the higher qualifier with the choice of starting lanes. And she wants to finish first, so Christian is going to lead off. And he has stayed mighty comfy right around that 7 or 8 board at the arrows. Bellying it, maybe a board or 2 here. Let's watch it. It's about 8 at the arrows, out to about 7 at the break point. And now Melissa, I think we'll see her a little farther to the inside. Oh, my goodness. Well, she told me if I pocket 7-10 in the first frame again like I did last year on this weekend, I'm going home. But pocket 8-10 is no better. And I'm sure she's thinking, why me? That didn't look like a bad shot at all. May have thrown it just a pinch too hard. It just didn't quite ever corner on the back end. She has become a very deliberate player, and as you can see, she's got that spine angle tilted to the right, got the ball right under her head. This is different from the way she was a year ago. Gets the 8-pin, 9 out, an open in the first frame, and this time we have no handicap to tally, so that puts her 11 pins behind Christian after the first frame. A little later in this match, we'll show you a comparison between her style now after a year of being in college bowling and what she looked like at this time 1 year ago. It is night and day. Ten-pin. Like a lot of two-handers, she's throwing urethane. Going to a plastic ball for her spares. She's moving much faster to the line. She's moved back, takes a longer stride now, longer approach, and her swing is much looser than it was a year ago. I think she looks a whole lot better. Oh my goodness. Well, deja vu all over again, huh? That is not the start she had hoped for. She really wanted to get a little bit of revenge this match for that first time she was the tournament leader on Prodigy a year ago, and Christian got her. But Christian gets out of the gate quickly with a couple of strikes. How about this? We'll see it again. I'm not sure I have ever seen Christian play down and in quite like this. Gives it a little fist pump. Going for 3 in a row. Boom! 3 shots, 3 strikes, every one of them, 10 in the pit. I don't think he bellied that ball more than about a board that time. All right, Melissa. The gauntlet has been thrown down. There you go. That's more like what we saw from her in qualifying. Let's compare her style from a year ago to today. See it in slow motion. Much different spine angle. Her swing is looser now than it was a year ago. And she's gonna just keep getting better and better. Well, she got around that one a little bit. You get your hand around the side of it, you can get the ball to hydroplane through the oil a little bit. And it takes a little extra time to start to hook. You know, we talked at the top of the show about how this pattern has 8 2-to-2 loads, an oiling machine that lays down the oil on the lane. It acts kind of like an inkjet printer. It goes back and forth spraying droplets of oil along the way, and the computer program tells it which boards to start and which boards to end on. It goes from the second board to the second board. When it lays down the oil that wide, that's like a gutter-to-gutter condition. And when you get 8 loads of 2-to-2, you better hit what you're looking at, because you're not going to get any help from the lane. A spare in the 4th as she converts the 2-5. But she needs to string them. If Christian is going to keep putting up X's like this. Melissa's got a tiger by the tail here. Well, Christian's got his earbuds in, something that he's listening to. He's bobbing his head to. He has the worst taste in music of any human being on the planet. And I say that with love in my heart. That one got away from him. And he's got the 1, 2, 4. Best thing to do here is just move your feet about 3 or 4 boards to the right. Throw your strike ball over your strike target at the arrows, and that ball will cross over to the Brooklyn side. Just like that. So 4 frames into the championship match. Christian nursing a 39-pin lead. I'd say it's gone about as well as he could have hoped for. And another one. Dead solid perfect. My goodness. Christian's on fire. Once again, over 8 at the arrows. I think that was at 8 at the break point. That was truly right up the boards. All right, Melissa. You struck on the right lane the last time you were up. Now would be a good time to get another one. Start chipping away at this lead. Oh no. It goes high, and I think this is the 3rd time today we've seen the 4-7-10, and nobody's even come close to making it yet. Put the ball over to the left of the 4-pin and slide it over into the 10. Seems easy enough. Not so easy when you got to do it. I'll bet she gives it a go. Ooh. She did. And only missed by a fraction. But a miss it is, and another open frame that she could ill afford. And now the lead is 54 pins halfway through the match. And Melissa needs a big turnaround now. She does take her time. I'm guessing that's something they taught her at school. Get up. Oh, it did! And she shreds the rack. Well, this young lady bowled in the 2019 Intercollegiate Singles Championships in the sectional qualifier, March 8th in Dallas. And she finished 20th in a field of 137 women. Another Prodigy alum that you've seen on the show recently in the last few months, Emily Reddick, who won on Prodigy some time ago. She finished 8th. And Christian is just pounding the pocket. And my goodness, that's 5 strikes in the first 6 frames. I'm not going to lie to you. I did not expect to see this out of Christian. But you know what? He made a decision early on when he was bowling qualifying with the three little kids that he was going to stay outside of them. Well, he threw that thing outside of everything. But he was playing outside around 7 or 8 at the arrows, while everybody else was playing inside. He figured with the little kids on the same pair of lanes, he'd get around their carry down by playing down and in outside. And you know what? He's had that part of the lane to himself all day. There's a spare in the 7th. Well, Melissa with a possible 213. Christian going at a 225 pace. Anything can happen, but Melissa needs a huge change in fortunes here. But she's got to strike up. Now's the time to do it. Hold it. I think when Melissa watches the playback of this episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, she's going to notice that her right elbow is kicking outside a little too much. That may be the cause of that 8-10 in the first frame as well, because you lose leverage when that right elbow kicks out. The old chicken wing. There, that's a better shot. Keep the right elbow in. It keeps the hand behind the ball. You get a much more powerful roll. Well, I think Melissa probably sees the writing on the wall, but at this point, you just want to salvage all you can, make a respectable showing. Still a few frames left. You never know what's going to happen. You are bowling Christian after all. Crunch berries. A solid pocket hit by Melissa. That was high flush. She's playing around 12. Out to about 8, bringing it back. Well, that's just nasty. That ball broke just a little too high. Chopped the 5 right off the 9. Entry angle a little too steep. And then I think it's going to be the 2-pin that comes off the left wall and comes back and wipes out the 9. Now wave goodbye. You could tell by the trajectory. All of his good shots have only been bellied to the right about a board. But that one was definitely on a left to right trajectory launch angle. And that's no good on this oil pattern, turnpike. But an easy spare, the 1-2. Of course, he missed this earlier. Not this time. And that puts an end to this match. So the rest is just for fun and for show. Christian has won this Prodigy event, Life in the Fast Lanes. And he did it in style in the championship match. 5 strikes in the first 6 frames. 6 strikes in the first 8. You better be lined up and ready to go if you're going to bowl against that. And this one crosses over, and I think Melissa's just going through the motions now. I think she knew about halfway through that she was beat this game. The 5-10, not one you see these caliber of players leave very often, but you let one get away like that, and, well, you're liable to leave anything in this game. Get the ball over on the left edge of the 5-pin, slide it over. She won't give it away. She'll give it a go. Ooh! Once again. She's missed the 4-10 and the 5-10 and just barely missed them on the left. Well, I'd like to see her finish strong, if only just for pride. She didn't really show us what she's capable of doing in this match, but she's had some real success in collegiate bowling this year. She barely bowled junior bowling at all. There you go. When she first showed up to bowl Prodigy with us a while back, she was pretty green. She bowled open play, but had never bowled youth league. And I convinced her she was going to college in Augusta, Georgia. I convinced her to join a youth league out there, and she did. She didn't bowl in it very long before the season was over, and it was time to come back home to Atlanta, and then she was off to college. But she got a little taste of it, and boy, this year has been a whirlwind for her. And you can see the progress she's made, even if the score doesn't show it in this match. During qualifying, her 195 was the high scratch game bowled among all the players. And it'll stand as the second high game of the day. Unless Christian throws 2 balls in the gutter here in the 10th, and I wouldn't bet on it. Possible 159 with all 10 here on the fill ball. All right, 157. And now Christian will finish out the proceedings here. See if he can put 3 strikes on the board. He has a possible 235. But not anymore, he doesn't. Well, this is a very Christian-like game, actually, if you think about it. Some very high highs. He gets 6 strikes, and he's going to end up with 209. You'd think with 6 strikes he might get more, but I don't think he cares. He's going to sign the coveted trophy pin. Christian is back in the winner's circle on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Imagine that.
Hello, friend. I'd like to bowl a few lines.
Brought your own bowling pins?
Why, sure. Folks who know the score know you get more action from these pins. See that big red crown that goes all around? Means it's a real Red Crown Dura-King bowling pin made by Brunswick. Makes the game more fun. Now, why don't you have these high-scoring pins, friend?
Oh, we got them. Look at the plaque.
Brunswick, Dora King Red Crown pins. You've got 'em all right. Can't wait. Just love to bowl against those pins.
All over America, more people are bowling against red crowns than any other pins. Just ask for the big red crowns, Dura King bowling pins by Brunswick.
1, 2. Taste the beats the others cold. Pepsi pours it on. Anytime a thirst takes hold, Pepsi pours it on. Pepsi's got that special taste created for the cold. The cold turns on that Pepsi drive, makes Pepsi Cola come alive. Taste that beats the others cold. Pepsi pours it on. Pepsi pours it on.
The Turtles for Pepsi. In his best performance of 2018-19, Christian claims his second title of the season on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. And while Melissa's one-game performance was a bit uneven, it's clear she's made huge improvements in her game in the year she's been a collegiate bowler, and we look forward to tracking her progress going forward. The Lady Eagles of Oklahoma Christian University have a solid player for the next few years. But on this day, it was Christian Manel who threw strike after strike to get off to a quick lead and just kept piling up the strikes to put enough distance between himself and his opponent to be able to coast to the finish line. So we congratulate Christian on his win today. A reminder that if you bowl Youth League here in the Atlanta area, we always welcome visitors. If you're under 18, be sure to bring a parent or guardian and come bowl Prodigy with us. This is Coach Randy. We'll see you next time on Prodigy Bowlers Tour.